Hello, everyone. Welcome to our pitch day. Before I get started with everything, I just want to make sure that everyone's able to hear me. So if you're able to hear me, just give me a little emoji in the chat or just type it out in the chat. Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. With that, let's get started. I'll start sharing my screen really quickly. Perfect. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Pitch Day. Today, we're celebrating the graduation of our game development students. This is from the cohort that started back earlier this year, and these students graduated in December. So we're very excited to feature them. And today's event features several industry professionals as well, who are very keen on hearing the students' pitches. And then, of course, our graduates as well that will be pitching their ideas. So with that, let's get started. Just a few things before we kind of begin the event, just some housekeeping stuff. Today's event will be approximately 2 hours. So it'll go till 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And then though our only partner speakers can go up on stage to speak, as well as the student presenters, we welcome and encourage all the attendees in the chat to participate. So please feel free to ask any questions that you may have, give comments, feedback, and whatever else. Throughout these pitches, we will be playing some embedded YouTube videos of the students' games. These will be played at full volume on our end, but please be prepared to adjust them on your own computer as we play the slides throughout. And then just lastly, a little reminder to our guest speakers. Please make sure to use the moderator chat for internal communications. You'll see me going in there and saying we only have a few minutes left. So just keep an eye out on that. And then the general chat for anything else. So with that, I'll begin by doing an introduction about myself. So hi, everyone. As you know, I'm Mahnur. I take care of partnerships here at CircuitStream. My ultimate goal or job is to help students in our career program get closer to their job search, build their professional networks, and ideally get them hired as well. Today, I've brought in some guest speakers from different niches within the game development world across Canada, and some of them are hiring managers, some of them have technical roles, and my hope is that this event becomes an opportunity for students and our guest speakers to network, connect, and chat a little bit more about the gaming industry. Just a little bit of a schedule breakdown for today and kind of how that's going to go. We're going to start off with the event kickoff, which we've kind of already done, partner introductions, a little bit information about the capstone project, what that entails, the graduates and their pitches, and then at the end, we'll just do a quick little wrap up. So a little bit of a background for us, on us, because I know we have some potential students here in the call with us. CircuitStream began in 2015 through a network of developers, designers, and creators. We are now the leading provider of technology education in game development, as well as game design, product management, and software development. Our primary goal is to provide future-proofed and industry-relevant skills to folks looking to pivot into tech, either that's through upskilling or learning about the technical aspects of the industry. Our secondary goal is, of course, to prepare our bootcamp graduates for jobs in their preferred industry through events like these, one-on-one connections, and engaging with our extensive network of employer partners. Since our start in 2015, we have now educated over 50,000 learners globally, which is really amazing to say. And we are constantly updating our curriculum to stay ahead of the curve. Ooh, is everyone else able to hear me? Okay. Perfect. Maybe it's just your network connection then. All right. Okay, we'll go back on topic. CircuitStream is also an educational partner with several top universities across the country. So just a few on the screen that we've mentioned. In parallel to the technical program that we offer to our students, we also have the career program, and we provide that to our bootcamp graduates. This program provides ongoing support for students who are keen to start job hunting right after graduation, to make sure that they are prepared to find a new job. We do have our career coaches here that will be joining us shortly and just giving a little bit of background about themselves and the career program. And throughout this program, we are committed to supporting our students with their career and professional and personal development. And we take pride in providing opportunities to connect our learners with industry partners and networks. This is just for any businesses in attendance today. We are always looking to expand our network of employers who we reach out to for events like this one. We have Ask Me Anythings for our students, talent opportunities, and of course, some other events that we host. If you're interested in joining our talent network, please reach out to me. My email is right there up on the slide. I will also have my email posted in the chat as well. So for any information like that, please feel free to reach out to me. With that, I will start off by having our career coaches just join us up on the stage today. So and just share a little bit about the program and kind of, how they support. So with that, could I please have Emma join the stage really quickly?
Hi, Manur. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. It's great to see all of you. My name is Emma Falante. I'm one of the career coaches here at Circuit Stream. I've been working as a career coach for 5+ years now, specializing in students and new graduates within the technical space. So I've worked with a lot of folks as they enter their careers, and as we go through our work together here with the students at Circuit Stream, we meet with the students on a one-on-one basis, as well as through career labs, to make sure that they have a really solid career foundation before they head into the field, while also offering that customized one-on-one support for everybody as they graduate as well. Cecilia, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, that was me beeping in the background. I'm so sorry, Emma, about that. Hi, I'm Cecilia. I'm one of the career coaches. I have about 8 years experience in career coaching and career advising. And before that, I was in human resources. So I am coming in with a background as a recruiter, a trained recruiter. I can give some feedback in that way. And just to echo what Emma said, we are doing great work on educating our students or re-educating them on resumes, cover letters, portfolios, pitch days, all the important things, most importantly, networking, and also doing those one-on-one personalized strategy meetings to help students really understand what kind of strategies they can leverage to best stand out in the industries. So I'm very fortunate to work with Emma on that, and we collaborate on certain things as well and leverage each other's expertise.
Thank you guys so much. Our students absolutely love working with you as well. And thank you so much for being such a support pillar for all of our students in the different programs that we have. So thank you so much. All right, with that, could I start off with the industry partners as well? So the first presenter or first guest speaker, sorry, I would like to call up on stage is James. If you could just join the stage and tell us a little bit more.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just trying to use the system. It was asking me permissions. Hi, yeah, so I'm James McCafferty. I work at Unity. I'm very excited to be here today to look at everyone's games. So I'll just give like a quick background about myself, I guess. I use Unity for over 10 years professionally. 5 years of that were spent making training simulators using the game engine. So I have a lot of experience kind of making non-game related things with game engines. But in my spare time, I love making games. I'm always making games for myself. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you guys are creating.
Thank you so much, James. And we really appreciate you being here and taking the time out to view our students' pitches. So I'm excited to hear from you as well.
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much. With that, could I please have our next guest speaker join the stage, Cole?
Hello.
Hey.
Doing well. I'm Cole. I am a engineer in games. Previously, I've worked at Digital Extremes on Warframe. Big Blue Bubble on My Singing Monsters, Carbon Counts on Everforest, and I'm also working at a small indie team called Grizzly Moose, which is also based in Calgary in Canada. And yeah, happy to connect with everybody and excited to see what people have made.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you so much for being here. With that, could I please have our next guest speaker join the stage as well, Mike?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michael Vermeulen, or Mike for short. I'm the lead game designer at Ubisoft Montreal here in Canada, currently working on For Honor. I've been on this team now for 2 years, but previously I've kind of worked all over the place, always in a game design position, from design director to senior combat design. Combat design is kind of the thing that I do most. But I've kind of worked at startups. I've worked at Ubisoft twice now, and kind of been all over the place in the games industry. So I'm super excited to hear what you all are pitching today and see what you're cooking up.
Amazing. I'm excited for you to see our projects. When I was doing the practice run with the students, there were such cool ideas that they had. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. And just last but not least, Jadeja, if you could just join the stage and just share a little bit more about yourself as well, please.
Taking some time to get all of the allowance to get on here, but I'm here. So thank you very much, Manuel, for inviting me for this. Great people who are just speaking before me, so that's exciting as well. I'm Jadeja. I'm a game director at Tactile Games, which is a Danish company specialized in mobile games. I work on games that have free-to-play weekly updates and are played by about 3 million people consequently. So that's pretty exciting, and a lot of pressure on there to deliver. So that's also something for the students to keep in mind, that sometimes the pressure can be on. I have a narrative background, so that's also the thing that I can hopefully say something about the students' work today, because narrative is everywhere. Even if you don't have dialogue, there's still going to be a story somewhere. So I'll be looking out for that.
Amazing. Thank you so much as well. All right. Okay. Just before we get into the most exciting part of the pitch day today, just want to share a little bit more about the Game Development Bootcamp for everyone that's in the chat and is not really familiar with it. So our Game Development Bootcamp is an intensive 30-week live program that we host, where students dive deep into Unity 3D. They don't just learn theory, they build real playable games, work in teams, and get exposure to every step of game development pipeline. Throughout the program, they receive ongoing career coaching, as I was mentioning earlier, as well as mentorship and one-on-one support to prepare themselves for the industry. At the end of the bootcamp, every student was challenged to bring their own idea to life from concept to code. The goal was to create a minimum viable product, an MVP, that demonstrates their technical and creative skills into the game. Whether they work solo or in teams, they applied everything they learned. Gameplay programming, art integration, as well as some UI UX design, debugging, and a lot more to create a working prototype that's ready for industry feedback. With that, I will start off by introducing our students. I have Rong Hao, who will be talking to us about Paintsol. Whenever you're ready, I would love to have you up. Oh, sorry. Okay, just stopped sharing the screen a little bit. Give me a second. I'm the one that's having technical difficulties today.
Did I accidentally do something?
No, it's me. It's not you. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Perfect. Okay,
Right.
whenever you're ready, go right ahead.
So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Rong Hao, and welcome to my pitch for my game Paintsol. So just a little about me. Before coming to this boot camp, I was actually studying computer engineering. But then at the end of my second year, I decided to change up and try something new. And yeah, lately I've been playing some gacha open world games like Wuthering Waves. Don't worry, I'm a low spender. My bank account is still doing right. My current goals, I'm looking for a junior game dev role, and I'm also open to any mentorship and collaborations. So yeah, what is Paintso? Paintso is a desert-themed first-person shooter that has some puzzle elements as well as environmental coverage. Made with Unity that can be played on the web page or you can download for Windows. So the goal of Paintso for me, I really wanted to integrate different systems together to create a cohesive gameplay, meaning that the art and the logic are all together in a good way. And yeah, just wanted to learn some new tools. So yeah, enough talking, let's just get right into the demo. All right, welcome back to the pitch. As we saw in the demo, Paintso, we first started in a puzzle room where you use your colors and paints to solve some symmetric puzzles. And as you proceed to the next puzzles, at the very end, we have a challenge to paint the entire room within time. You can defeat some jellies to get power up for help. So yeah, straight up Splatoon was one of my conceptual inspirations. Power Wash Simulator was sort of also in that place. I wanted the sort of the reverse of cleaning, so the fun of making a mess around and combining it with the jellies to sort of incentivize the players to do a lot of painting. Next slide, please. So yeah, briefly over the timeline, Paintso can actually trace all the way back in August. That's when I started learning the course contents. Later, I used those course content for my midterm, and then I decided to also use it for Paintso. Next slide, please. But in the real core development, it's just 2 months. So in August to September, it's just nothing too fancy, just learning the basics during the course, learning the game systems and architectures. From October to the end of November is when I actually make the game, the prototype playable. So all the core mechanics are done. The game is at least playable, but then it's very rough. In December is when I actually learn all the new things about the shaders, and I use those to make visual effects, for example, the paint accumulation, just to make things look prettier. As well, I also had to use occlusion culling for performance, so the game can be played smoothly on the web page. So yeah, just a little bit over the paint mechanics. There's nothing too fancy. It's just you shoot the paintball. When the paintball hits something, the object is updated, and the logo of the object then gets updated as well. Yeah, it's pretty easy and simple. It's flexible and intuitive. It's also good for movable things, very simple. But in the the downside is that since you have to change the entire object, it doesn't look that good visually. So for example, in Splatoon, they use something called the UV space painting to make something that's more realistic. So the paint mark actually matches where exactly the brush or the brush is moving. Some challenge I encountered during Paintsville is really just motivation. I'm that kind of person that once I finish doing something, I don't want to go back to check it again. But then, well, I have an example here. The old puzzle detection that I had, it was using a periodic check design for the system. It was okay at first, but then later when you have more of them, you create some latency. So yeah, I just had to overcome the sunk costs and make something new with the event-driven design. Now the system listens to the puzzle piece instead of just continuously checking and checking. It's making it more flexible, robust, and efficient. Some takeaway. Well, some takeaway. I just have to for my new projects, I'll probably plan more ahead and do some research before I actually dive into the implementation, so I can avoid the bad designs, less frustration, and overall the game is going to be cohesive since if you plan out the logic with the art together. What I like about Painto, I really like learning the new things. The shaders, Unity shader graph. At first, it was kind of tedious, but at the end, it was fun after all. Modeling was also very interesting. Instead of finding assets that matches on my liking, I actually get to make my own stuff. Some improvements I would want to make for Painto first is cohesion. I really want to make a cohesive gameplay. Right now, the paint in Painto doesn't really match with the dessert theme, which I wanted. One solution, one idea that I had is to make the paint into jam. So it keeps the color, but it also creates a sort of like dessert and delicious kind of feel. And yeah, I can just also have some animations from my jellies to make it more bouncy. As I said earlier, I'm actively looking for some junior game roles. I want to create cohesive gameplay with the team. For example, with a professional artist, work together to fully explore their potentials of their art. I want to learn from the community, improve, and expand my skills. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Ronghao, for being here and sharing your slides. I absolutely love the music that you've used in the games. It's amazing. With that, if I could please have the guest speakers join us on stage and just give a little bit of feedback and just share their ideas as well. It's okay, James. You can clap while you're on stage.
Yeah, well done. Great pitch. It was very cool looking. I'm actually amazed what you managed to create in the time that you actually had. Yeah, I was just wondering actually, just to begin with, why did you target WebGL as well as desktop? What was the motivation behind that?
Well, I'm always sort of like fascinated with optimization with video games. So I really want to make something that's somewhat, I don't know what's the word for it. So it's like playable across multiple platforms.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, because you want it to be distributable, basically.
Yeah, distributable.
Yeah, cool, got it. And so, are you going to put it on itch.io or something like that, so that other people can play? Is that the idea?
It's already on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Okay. Awesome. So you've already uploaded it somewhere and stuff. Yeah. Very cool. I wanted to say, and like other people, like just interrupt me, if I'm talking too much or something. But there was a slide further back where you kind of said like, I wish I had planned more, because there were certain like architectural decisions you had to change in your game, right? But a part of me thinks like you kind of did it the right way. like I think you kind of need to find the fun first in a game before you like dive too deeply into like the technical issues, right? So I think the fact that you had timer based stuff like checking all the puzzles that made it lag and stuff like that, and you only really optimized that when it was necessary. I don't think that was a bad approach at all. I just wanted to say that like you did what you needed to do to get the game out so that you could take a look at it. And that's the most important part, because if you can't find the fun, then you're going to need to change direction anyway. So it doesn't matter if your game is optimal, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did change a lot of the stuff according to what I liked. So yeah, I wasn't actually initially I wasn't really want to target the puzzle. I was trying to think to use the paint mechanics just to purely use it for combat, and later I figured out, oh, this mechanics just can be used for puzzles. So it's sort of like I'm making stuff, and then I'm changing stuff along the way, and
Yeah,
it's just how it is for a project as
Yeah.
a new game developer.
looks like you did a good job of it. I'll leave the floor for other people.
Yeah, I could jump in there. I really liked very much in line with what James said. I like that you focus on finding the fun first. That's obviously the most important thing. I actually have a question for you, because kind of along the lines of what James was mentioning there about your kind of approach to experiment with things and only afterwards optimize. So my question to you is, you mentioned that you're somebody who likes to get things done, right the first time. You don't really want to go back to it. Could you maybe talk about, like, I guess, what you learned through that experience?
What I learned is that, yeah, I guess I agree with you, James. If you try to get something done first, is really hard. So to find the fun first and try to see different approach, I would say is a better way to do it. Since I'm just working alone, right? So I sort of have to do all the tasks myself. It's just very hard to get it done first. That's just my takeaway. Just try my best. I tried my best to plan as much as possible within the time, and there's still a lot of things that I wanted for the game, but I didn't have time to actually include them. Or the things I made, like I made a lot of other stuff, but I just didn't put it in the final game. So yeah, my takeaway really is just like I said, plan ahead and just do what I can do.
Yeah,
This is learning experience.
Of course, it always is, and it never stops. That would be my advice for you. So yeah, good job on that, and keep iterating. You'll find that there's such a thing as over planning, but I think exactly what James said is right. You did it the right way. Try something, it worked, and then iterate on that. So yeah, good job.
Yeah, I could jump in as well for some questions. Really cool stuff. I really enjoyed watching it. I always love sort of that painter-esque mechanic that you mentioned with stuff like Splatoon and Power Wash Simulator. So really enjoyed seeing that, especially in such a short time for this sort of capstone project. I'm really curious because you mentioned sort of what you're looking forward to next from this experience in terms of like junior dev roles. So I'm sort of curious as to, through this experience, what did you feel you learned about yourself in terms of like what you enjoy? What did you really enjoy about this process? Because I feel like it takes time to like really understand, and it's important to know like what you're enjoying as you do it.
Like I said earlier, I'm always fascinated with like computer science optimization. So, so that was one thing that I learned. Because I realized one thing is that playing the game in the editor mode is really different than the actual build. So like I said earlier, occlusion calling is one of the technique I use for the game. Like it was like 1 week before my final things get submitted, I built it on WebGL, and I realized it just can't run on the web page. So I had to like go back and actually include occlusion calling, because it's actually affecting the game, right? So really, computer science, optimization, all those stuff, I always wanted to learn them, but I never get a chance. And this time was actually I get the chance to just scratch the top of the surface. And I didn't dive too deep into it, but yeah, it's really fun to just learn new ways and using Unity to what is it called? To do some profiling. I think that's what it used.
Yeah.
Using the profiler for optimization.
I think part of the lessons there is to build often.
Yeah, build often.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, great answer. It's definitely fun to see how much you can squeeze out of performance. So good to know.
Yeah, I can add to that as well. Some great questions and great answers there. I also very much enjoyed watching your presentation. The game instantly got me excited just because it's fun. And I also want to commend you on how you presented it in the video, because it's not like building something is one thing, but then presenting it so that the viewer has an idea of what it is and what could be fun about it is something else. And you did that very well. I noted down one of the texts that you had in the video, which was like, make a mess, which I thought was like great, because that triggers me and like, oh yeah, I love this. So you did that really, really well. And it really made me excited for playing this game. I think it's a smart. You've chosen very smart. It's clear that you had specific goals for yourself, but I think you also chose something very smart in as that you could make a prototype that with, I won't say minimal effort, because that that sounds like you didn't put any effort in, but you get what I mean. Already looks good. That's the thing that for me seals the deal on this one, and also on your capacities on building and let's say selling something. So yeah, great work. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. For just making the prototype. I kind of cheated a little bit using my midterm for it, but I talked to my instructor. He said it was fine. So because I realized that 4 weeks is really very little time to make something that's satisfying, like for myself, even something that's like minimally viable. So I decided to continue on my midterm and making it prettier, making all the effects, and just learning all this stuff. It was fun after all.
Yeah, that was a good choice, I think. Sometimes you just need to stick with something and make it work.
Thank you so much, guest speakers, and thank you so much, Ronghao, for presenting. With that, could I please have everyone leave the stage, because we have our next student presenting. So, Conlon, whenever you're ready. Hi. Good luck.
Okay. So, hey everyone, my name is Conlon. Welcome to my presentation on my game Crusade Tower. You can go next slide. So, a bit about myself. I've been passionate about games for as long as I can remember. I started modding and creating content for games around the age of 10, beginning with Smash Bros. Brawl on my first ever laptop, which is originally what pushed me to learn how games work internally. That interest naturally led me into programming and becoming a self-taught 3D artist, where I focus on creating assets and systems that follow actual game development practices. Today, I'm looking to turn that long-term passion into a professional career in game development. So the core idea of my game is, what if a roguelike game could capture the feeling of an action role-playing game? Before starting development, my main goal was simple: to create a project that strongly connected with my interests. I've always loved role-playing games, and I love the replayability and randomness of roguelikes. And I love the fantasy genre, so I started planning Crusade Tower. I began planning this project for about 4 weeks before our actual development start date, giving me a total scope of about 8 weeks. Within that time, my focus was on building a strong foundational system rather than a large amount of content, resulting in just a small demo of my overall idea. These goals include a clean top-down character controller with WASD movement and modular combat, a modular enemy system to allow varied AI designs and behaviors, a procedurally generated dungeon to keep each run unique, and a core RPG system such as leveling, stats, abilities, and item and inventory system. Can I pause here for a second? You do have the wrong slideshow. Can I send a new one? I didn't update.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I looked over at my second monitor. I saw that here. Let me do this really quick. I'm sorry. I'll put it in the chat. That's so weird. It didn't update. My apologies. Okay, there we go. Okay, pre-development slide. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so what is Crusade Tower? Crusade Tower is a fantasy role-playing roguelike game in the top-down perspective, inspired by various fantasy and anime media, and a bunch of games such as Lost Ark and Dungreed. Crusade Tower aims to be a dungeon diving focused game, with each run and town being a new area of progression that holds uniquely generated dungeons for you to explore. Each run diving to a procedurally generated dungeon, start your character's own unique build path, fight enemies to improve your character, and find unique abilities to amplify your playstyle. For the sake of saving time and space, I grouped development into a few main phases, with each phase covering about 2 weeks. There's also a much more detailed week-by-week devlog on my GitHub portfolio, which is linked at the end. In the first phase, the main goal was getting my core systems up and running. This included the character controller, the core RPG systems I mentioned earlier, and setting up my player with a base model that I made and rigged, along with some custom shaders I made in shader graphs. In the next phase, I focused on combat and enemies. I created my first test enemy, the slime, and worked heavily on combat and damage systems. Combat is built around a modular ability system that calls a shared ability use function, which is then customized further using scriptable objects. This also supports my modular enemy design, since I want enemies to be able to use the same abilities that the player can. After that, most of my time went into the item systems. I implemented inventories, weighted loot drop pools with rarities, and added new enemy type, the skeleton, which can equip the same gear as the player, for allowing both melee and magic variations further on. In the final phase, I focused on polishing the UI, creating the town, and building the procedural dungeon generator. Once the demo felt complete, I shared it with a small group of friends for feedback, and used that to fix bugs, balancing, improve combat flow by adding a new combat system with stamina, and added a small shop system. I also found that players needed a better tutorial, so I worked on that as well. Here's just a small demonstration of some of the assets I made and worked on using Blender in this project. So my demo, please enjoy the small trailer I made for my game. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that trailer. So I learned a lot from this project, especially when it comes to getting multiple systems to cooperate and understanding both good and bad ways of structuring them, such as the stat and level system interacting together. I also came out of this with a much better understanding of Unity's coroutine and physics systems, since most of my abilities rely on the coroutines, and combining those with physics, space movement was definitely a challenge at times. One of my biggest personal goals going into this project was to learn about procedural generation. I feel like I really achieved that pretty successfully. Looking forward, beyond general bug fixing and polish, I'd like to expand the shop system, add NPCs in the town to support player progression, explore character customization, and improve some of the random waiting issues and general bugs with the random reward boxes I have right now. So yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to pitch myself and my game. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Next slide. Here's where you can find me. If you're interested, please get in touch. I'm open to mentorship, collaboration, and work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin, for this amazing presentation. I can't believe you created that in such a short amount of time. So good job. Thank you so much.
You.
With that, could I please have all the guest speakers join the stage as well?
I guess I'll kick us off this time. Thank you so much for the presentation, Colin. I mean, first of all, I want to commend you for this achieving this in 8 weeks. When you showed that slide with all the systems and procedural generation and combat and stats and inventory systems, I got really scared. I've seen many teams struggle to do this, especially in such a short amount of time, but you managed. So
thank you.
Yeah, fantastic work on this. I'm somebody who loves, combat, as I mentioned, of course, and action RPGs is one of the genres that I love most. So I'm curious about something you mentioned there. I wonder what your perspective is after now implementing it this way. You mentioned that in your process of implementing, weapons and abilities, you try to make it kind of modular because you wanted enemies to use the same kind of abilities that the player does. So my question to you on that is, I guess first, did you manage to do that? And what did you learn in that experience from sharing the player abilities with the enemies?
Yeah, so I actually did manage to do that. I don't know if the demo was a bit laggy or not, but most of the skeleton enemies were holding weapons that the player could actually pick up when they defeat them, right? There was a small little segment where I showed basically all the armor, the weapons I made, and you could find those on the enemies you fight. The weapons themselves hold an ability. So say like a sword holds an ability for a melee attack, a staff holds an ability for a ranged attack, and that kind of dictates what class that enemy is and also what class that player is. So if you have a mage weapon, you have ranged attacks, right? So that helped make that whole system more modular, right? Yeah.
Gotcha. And was there any kind of takeaways like the I'm trying not to put words in your mouth because I'm curious what your learning was there. But is there anything you had to do different from an enemy perspective?
For an enemy's perspective, it fit in place to a point where I didn't have to work too hard on the enemy AI. Most of the aiming and the ability usage was already preset from the weapon itself. So like you aim at the mouse, the enemy wants to aim at the player, right? Everything kind of fell into place, so it wasn't too much of a hassle with the system I implemented.
Cool. Badass. Yeah, so congratulations, that's all I'd say. And
thank you.
Before I pass it to everybody else, I also want to say great work on picking slime as your first enemy. That should be everybody making games should either pick a rat or a slime. So you adhered to the rules. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can go next. I definitely want to congratulate you as well, because this is amazing work in a short period. Really unique and special. Can't wait to play it. I have questions, however, about the world that we're in. You have some visuals that are interesting and striking and sort of evoke some kind of story to me. But can you tell me a bit more about what kind of world are we in?
So unfortunately, there's not too much like overall lore to the game. But the idea was to make a sort of like, I wanted to make an MMO type progression. So like you go to one area, you do the whole dungeon, you clear, you go to the next area, do whole dungeon, clear it, right? So my concept was each town is a different region, say like a grasslands region or a snowy region, and you progress through there. And each town has like a demon, like a little demon structure that they harvest materials and stuff from, and you're there to put an end to that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I would recommend, if you want to expand on this game, to expand on that part as well.
For sure.
Because one of the things in games like these is that in order to stand out from the crowd,
yeah, for sure. No, I get it.
It's nice to have a hook that lures people in, because there's a lot of games like these. And it doesn't have to have like a huge lore or story mode or whatever, but just having a bit of clarity about this is who you are and this is what you're going to do and why, can give you that extra edge for people to look into your game. And I feel that there's something there, and what you're explaining as well, like that could be enough. If you expand slightly on that, it could be very interesting to add a bit more to that, to make it more viable to a larger audience.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Very great stuff. It's an impressive amount of work you got done over those 8 weeks. And so I'm sort of curious as to what your process was like in terms of managing your time to sort of approach this just amount of work you had to get done.
Yeah, so starting off, I always had a concept of making like a top-down like roguelike type game. So I had like that far back mental like sub-thought process planned out, right? But besides that, each week I tried to have like a specific goal. So I hope, yeah, I'm pretty sure that slide was up, the new slide, but each week had a specific goal. I also have a bigger devlog that has each week like broken down. But I tried to plan like this week I want to get this work done. Like for example, week 1, I needed the character controller. I needed like the model. I needed the animation. I just need the character completely done. Week 2, I needed to work on the combat. I need to get combat completely done. I just tried to segment it into each week I have to get something done to get the overall bigger picture. And I think that really helped because all my work was then focused into that one area rather than branching off and doing random things and then being like, well, I'm working on the character, I need to get the character done, but let's go and do UI design, and then let's go and make the dungeon generator, and then let's get back to the character. And then I tried to segment it step by step. I think that helped a lot.
Yeah. It certainly sounds like it did. Good to know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so my mind is kind of blown by like how like complete the game looks and the amount of time that you had. Like you did a really good job.
Thank you.
I think the comments from the other panelists were really valid too. Like I think expanding the game, you know, like the idea of that story and that hook, especially for a roguelike, like a fantasy medieval roguelike, it's like it can easily get lost in the weeds.
It's a very done concept. Yeah,
it's also my favorite type of game too. So it looks like
me too.
Right. What I wanted to ask you is like, so I think Cole's comments about like how you manage your time is like really what stood out to me in the presentation. I think your phased approach to making this was very smart. Like I am so bad at not diverging from the games I'm trying to make. I'm so bad at it. I'm amazed that you've been able to do this so well.
Thank you.
I was wondering if like along the way you had to drop anything, like things that you really wanted to keep and that you realized it wasn't going to happen.
There's a bunch of stuff. I dropped them really early because I tried to think of my whole scope in the first week. That's why I really wanted to get the character out to see how fast I can get stuff going. But within the first week, I dropped like skill trees. Like I want to have skill trees and no skill trees. I wanted to have a shop system. I dropped that, but after feedback, I realized I kind of had to have something there. So I brought a small shop system back. Not much of a shop system, but it's there. I wasn't able to get like I have helmets, but I wasn't able to get armor slots or like accessories or anything extra. It was only like helmets and weapons, which is still good for the scope, but I'm fine with that. But that was definitely planned to have armor sets and accessories and a lot more you could find throughout the system. And then I wanted to have it like multi-dungeon. So like you do one floor, you go to the next floor, and then you go to the final floor. But for the sake of scope, I can only get one floor. So those two others were cut out. But besides that, I think I got pretty much everything I wanted. I really just wanted a really RPG feeling roguelike, leveling up your character, getting abilities, finding chests, killing monsters. And I think I was able to deliver on that.
Yeah, well done. This, like, I mean, so from your description, like, you have already like come at this with a cool head, like planned this maturely, dropped things early when it was obvious you weren't going to get them in. I can't like stress enough how important of a skill that is in trying to build your own games, especially, right? So my hat is off to you. Very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, guest speakers, for your lovely feedback. And it's like I said, it's amazing what he was able to do in 8 weeks. So thank you so much, Conlon, for joining us today, as well as the guest speakers. And with that, I will call our next student.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Rishi, please talk to us about Silent Meridian. I'll kick you out, James. Don't worry. I've been doing that. It's okay.
I'm taking time to get my camera set up.
Sorry, Rishi. Can you say that again, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just a little bit.
How about now?
Okay, much better.
Okay, just trying to figure out my camera here. This doesn't seem to be working.
It's okay, Rishi. Just start with your pitch, and then we'll look at that towards the end.
Hi, my name is Sushi. I'm here to pitch for my game project Silent Meridian. So a little bit about me. My background, I'm from India. I was born over there, and I moved to Canada about 8 years ago for my higher educations, my future career, and that's where I started here. So I'm a huge computer geek. I would love to get anything knowledgeable about technology, computers, anything interesting out there. And I started my career in IT. I'm currently a technology operations engineer at a company for the last 3 years, and I've been there for a long time. I started playing video games around 7, and I wanted to ask, like, if anybody want to guess what was the first game I played. Want to put that in the chat as a thought? Yeah. So yeah, the Tetris was my first game at the age of 7. It was back in 2007 when I first started playing game, and ever since I've been playing quite a lot of games, which adventure, challenge, puzzles game, racing, a lot. So next slide. Okay, so the goal of the pitch is to find a game developer empowerment or a mentorship from this, and start with my game project, Silent Meridian. Next slide. Okay, so Silent Meridian. It's a survival horror game on the small town area, where like silence isn't peaceful, it's like heavy. So the town is overrun by the dark, hollow entities seeking domination over the whole town. Unlike any other horror game, you aren't helpless over here. So build a robust system for combat, strategic exploration that player uses to explore around the town, fight off with the enemies over there, and they have a skill tree set up to make the player progress as well. You can evolve, have put a different type of gameplay system you can do with the stealth or like just do a rogue combat. There are multi-stage like puzzle system and movements. You shoot them, they enemies, and they drop the XP and some other tools to help you progress in the game. Okay, slide. So here's a quick demo for the game. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so for this project, my initial idea or the planning was came from about few of the games that I played for initially. It was like Phasmophobia, Lethal Company, and Content Creators. They're not exactly the same horror style game that I've created, but they gave me an inspiration of how I wanted to game and how I want the game to feel around. Um, did some market research about the game and how much the concurrent users are, what the game stats are, like units sold and their pricing. So that's where the inspiration to make for me to build a horror story like game adventure as well. Okay, slide. A bit of brief timeline for the game. So have about middle of November till December to finish the project, so about 4 weeks. So from the very first go, I divided the project, the game in the 4 weeks of timeline of tackling one of the mechanics, the systems, environment, and UI, like correspondingly for each other. Had to drop off a few things which I planned on, but it all works out in the end. Getting focused with the refinement and the key mechanics was the main part of the game to get it properly fluid and get a feeling of a horror game in there. Okay, next slide. All right, so some of the key challenges that I had while I was playing was I need to deliver the proper experience that a player can have. So I wanted to feel that it's actually a horror game. It was more focused on refining the enemy combat pattern, the AI navigations, and like boss encounter. Wanted to actually have a high difficulty level for the boss, so it does feel the game a bit more challenging. And then getting the integration with the skill trees and the XP level as well. Okay, next slide. Okay. Yeah, so the game, I do have the future plans for the game. I want to add more stages, more level of exploration, a bigger map for the game to for players to explore. Um, Currently, there's only like one weapon class within the game which player choose, but I wanted to expand more on it. I've been using interface and like class system, abstract class system to make it scalable in the future. So I do have that pretty much set up already. Wanted to improve the player HUD system, have a mini map for easier navigations and some more skills in the future. At least. Okay, that's all I have for the presentation. Thank you for joining me, and here's my contact information.
Oh, Thank you so much, Yushi. What an amazing presentation. And I love the eerie vibe of it. It's very Slenderman vibe, which I love. Could I please have the guest speakers join us and give us some feedback?
Yeah, I mean, right up front, really great job setting that atmosphere and ambience. It really worked, and it really elevates the experience, in my opinion. I'm sort of curious if you could elaborate sort of more on what does the core gameplay loop for this sort of look like?
Um, it's a simple gameplay. So from where the player stands, they starts off in a corner of a town with setup, and they progress go through the town until like they find a boss where they can kill it and lift the horror that's following the town around to survive and save the town itself. I do want to emphasize on one fact that I had to drop out. That's the only thing I dropped is the one thing I wanted to add a time where within a certain time frame they have to kill the boss and enemy. So it's more concept like they started at the sunset and they want to finish off or survive the town until the sunrise. So one of the challenging factor that I have to drop out very early because of the certain time frame and the skills that I have.
Yeah, understood. It sounds like it's really cool, especially for the timeline.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would love to hear a bit more about the visuals, how you made them, and what your plans would be for future levels. Like, would they all look like this, or will be differences in that?
So yeah, for the visuals, I pretty much did adjust a little bit from what was a little bit available open source, and I did customize it how I want to make the game feel. For the environment and all the objects within the environment, I did use the custom shaders, try to get a little bit hang of it, how I wanted to feel, and but I want to keep the environment still like dark, airy, so the player does feel a bit of similarity while changing a landscape a little bit, maybe in like a deeper forest area or somewhere very remote highland area.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think also that because it's visually very striking, that's a plus, but it can become like a minus later on in the game because it can get a bit stale because the fact that you don't have a lot of color in there. So that would be interesting to look into for the future, like how do you maintain the style but
Yeah.
differentiate in environments. I also want to commend you on the UI because you integrated the style in there already that fits with the style of your gameplay, which is really nice. That really stood out for me. So, I mean, we can have discussions about how readable that UI was in some ways, but I really appreciate the fact that you incorporated that in your design. So, yeah, great work.
Yeah, thank you. I really wanted to keep the style in check with this because if a styling is a little bit off, it can be a little bit a bad experience or lead towards a bad experience for the player. It won't be as compelling and engaging for the player.
Definitely agree. Great work.
Yeah, well done. I think the title is awesome. Like Silent Meridian, that's a really, really good title. I think it sets the tone of like the kind of game you're trying to make really well. I liked the slide in your presentation that you called benchmarks. I think that was a good call. I think that was quite smart that you did that. You looked into other games. You looked into games that are similar to the kind of game you're trying to create. You looked at, how much money they made, how many users they had, and all that. There's this really good YouTube video. I can't remember the guy's name who made it, but he talks about how developing a game is like, it's like a search algorithm in a way where you want to be close to things that work, but far away enough that you're different somehow, so that you have a chance to succeed in the same space without just being a copy of something else, right? I was wondering in your game, what's in your head, what would be like the
differentiating factor of your game that makes them different to the other ones you listed, but still in the same genre?
So the most of the three games that are listed, they do have the horror element of their own, but most of them are adventure with I would say, as a co-op game. This solely relies on a single player and your own experience of how you want to play the game. Um, it is an open world, so there's no restriction of where you can go in the game. So and has an open experience, so you can actually go on other side of the corner where there's nothing in the world. It's just like enemies. You want to tackle things. You want to explore how it's designed. That's one of the main things. So that think would be the key differential from other ones.
Yeah, cool, good. And it's good that you have an answer for that, right? Like, because that question is very important, and it's good that you have something on top of your head to explain. So very good job, well done. It's a beautiful looking game. I'm very impressed with how it looks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi Rishi. Yeah, I'll just pretty much plus one what everybody else was saying there about the atmosphere. It really stands out. You obviously have a very clear vision in mind about what the experience should feel like from the UI to the mood in the levels. Something that I'm curious about, and of course it's going to go back to the combat system. There is with I don't know how I'm going to word this. You have a combat system, you have a kind of RPG layered progression system. I'm curious what that brings to the experience. What in your mind is making it so that even when you further develop this game, that's something you want to double down on?
So there's few things which are left out in the trailer, which I want to be a surprise elements for the player when they want to experience the game. One is I've designed a skill tree, and I've had a few abilities which are being shared with enemies and the player itself. So for players, they can integrate multiple abilities with them while playing the game as they progress through the game, as they level up. But the certain abilities are being given, one of them being given to the enemies, and they randomly being given they spawn at the certain time. So that's where the key challenge is. I know the player can have their own path of skill tree by unlocking certain abilities. So it will be a little bit different experience from player to player when they're playing it.
Gotcha, understood. So I guess that makes sense, and it helps differentiate from the many horror games out there a little bit, because as you know, I'm sure they all have kind of a different take. I think maybe a bit of, I guess, more critical feedback for you on that is you have a very strong theme, thematic, and you have a really cool name for sure. Kind of when I first saw it, like the trailer that you were showing, and I saw the title, I was really expecting, I guess, a maybe quite narrative driven horror mystery kind of game. I wasn't really expecting the combat and then the layers of RPG progression on top of that. So I guess my feedback for you is for games like these, they tend to thrive on one very specific mechanic, and you already pulled it out from your benchmark games there. The co-op mechanics are very strong in those games. I mean, they're all built around co-op. Some are more comedic, some are a little bit more horror, but those games double down on just kind of that one experience. And in the game that you presented here, I worry that there's maybe competing experiences that aren't fully in line with that really, really strong mood that you set for the player when you enter the game. So I would try and find a good balance there, so that it doesn't become an action game. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Definitely, I'll take that as positive feedback and something to look for in the future. I do had a story for it, something which I wanted to integrate, but with the lack of time, and I do manage to put that as a kind of a written story on a very beginning of it, so player have an understanding of what is going around as a part of tutorial, let's say, or something more engaging for them.
For sure. Awesome. No, but yeah, good luck working on this. I look forward to seeing that kind of universe and thematic kind of pop up on my Steam check it out list.
Yeah, for sure. The game's already available on itch as early access, so please do check out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, guest speakers. It's really amazing feedback. With that, I will call our next student up on stage. So if everyone could just please leave the stage. Perfect. All right, William, whenever you're ready. Sorry, are you just turning your camera on?
Yeah, I tested it, but for some reason it can't get my camera now. I don't know why.
No worries. Do you just want to get started with the presentation and then just...
Yeah, I'll do the presentation and then I'll worry about the camera later. Okay, hello everyone. My name is William, and here's my project Forest Swarm that I'm going to be showing off. If you go next slide, please. So a little background about me. My name is William Fleming. I'm a student at the Circuit Stream. I was born in British Columbia. I have a background in information computer systems under Camosun College, so I have a bit of a background in computing systems. I also have been using Unity development for a little bit in the past, and it's been like an off and on kind of thing, but I've been really like using the past time to come back into using more Unity. Next slide, please. So the goal of my game was to showcase a lot of new different skills into roguelikes. I really enjoy roguelikes. They're definitely one of my favorite things that I love to play. And I wanted to use this project to try and dip my toes into it. One of the things I really want to do was show off creating my own 3D models from scratch. It was a new skill that I've always wanted to try. And using this project, I wanted to try the fundamentals of that. So I wanted to incorporate a lot of different functions of using Blender. And I also want to use this project to incorporate a lot of things using visual effects, as I want to create different styles using all kinds of different visual effects on that. Next slide, please. And here is a bit of a game demo that I have to show off. Okay, next slide, please. So a big inspiration for my game was a lot of different roguelike functions, such as Megabonk and Fungi Swarm, using different aspects of using different aspects that you can do into different roguelikes, using a lot of like timers and stuff. One thing I really was inspired about is using procedural enemy spawning, using different ways to how enemies will show up during the scene and that you will fight progressively. And also a big inspiration was different stylized effects that you can create through like weapon systems or like enemy attacks, to really give off a visual feeling towards the player of being progressive and showing different strengths towards it. Next slide, please. So I want to use this project a lot to really start learning 3D modeling. And only in 4 weeks of progressing, that's how much time I had only to make this project. It was definitely a like massive leap into learning a new skill, but I really wanted to like show off trying something new, like creating different 3D elemental objects to really fill the scene with something that the player visually can look at, and to different objects so that they can lead towards like a different story with it. So I want to make it like really visually appealing to the player's eye to be able to look at different things. Next slide, please. So these are some of the models that I made in the progression of Forest Swarm. I was really excited to try out different styles, like not like too crazy of styles, but also just try out different like aspects of 3D modeling in Blender, because it was really fun to enjoy all the different things I could create in it. Next slide, please. One of the things I was really excited about trying to develop in Forest Swarm is different visual effects. I wanted to really bring out different stylized environment effects to really build up and show off different things that you could do in a game, and to like really show off like different like magical themes that you could show off, to really build up this fantasy world, and to just build onto like upgrade systems to really like show players excitement and like, oh, making like attacks stronger so they become more flashy, and to just really like bring things out more. Next slide, please. So I wanted to use visual effects to really incorporate different combinations with Blender using meshes that like can turn into different objects and things, and to really bring different strong visuals towards the game, to just really bring up a lot of different aspects that visually key in for the player to be really excited to keep playing and to try different combinations. And I really wanted to use a lot of like different particle systems, like enemy drops that the player can pick up, or like different visual graphs to really like show off different like styles effects. Next slide, please. So one of the challenges that I had, like I would say is the really big key point, was keeping scope limited. I love coming up with new ideas, and it's very difficult in only a 4 weeks time notice to really like pull myself back towards different ideas that I was like, okay, this is the only thing I can do in this time. But I was really excited to get the ideas that I could into the game in such little time. I really wanted to implement more enemy states, that so then it's the enemies feel more lifelike and they can really like interact with the player. Also, it was implementing a weapon upgrade system. It was definitely something very new, because I realized with roguelikes you can implement really deep into different weapon systems. So that was definitely like trying to understand that, but also like manipulating stats, which I really wanted to try and go into. But I think one of the biggest takeaways I really enjoyed was creating scriptable objects. I really like using those because it really helps towards roguelikes like this to create different weapon systems and like different stats that you can create different characters and all that, and all the different kinds of enemies. I really was enjoying, my biggest thing was creating different 3D models, because that's definitely something I've been pushing towards more, and I've been really enjoying it. And I also really enjoyed the incorporation of both using 3D modeling and visual effects to really create different styles and all that. Next slide, please. So the next steps I really want to push towards Forest Swarm is I want to learn animations and Blender rigging. It's definitely something I want to make sure that the game has a lot more lifelike scenery, and just it feels more interactive towards different objects. I also really want to add in a full skill tree, so then the player, as they're progressing, can actually make the skills way stronger and just more visually strengthening towards different things. I also really want to dip my toes more into more visual effects in the game. I want to create more magical systems for the character to use, because right now there's only a few that you can do, but I really want to add open so it makes it feel like you become this like powerful mage that you can do into the game. And personally, I want to create more stylized models. I want to be able to implement different styles and see like what works for me, and really show off more of my Blender skills. And I also just want to get better at using Unity and show off a lot more systems and a lot of the ideas that I like coming up with. Next slide, please. And thank you so much for enjoying my presentation. Here's my contact info, and thank you so much.
Thank you, William. Such a cool project. I love this game. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Colors that you've chosen for the background, it's very nice. So thank you so much, William, for presenting. With that, can I please have our guest speakers join the stage?
Hey, so I was wondering, William, you said you only had 4 weeks to do this. What percentage of your time do you think you spent programming versus making art?
I would say that I spent, I think I would have it. I spent about 2 weeks focusing on the coding, and I also had like more of like 2 weeks focusing on the modeling. I definitely, because I realized in the scope that the modeling did take a lot longer than I wanted to, but there was definitely some things that I had to push out of trying with the coding, because there were definitely some systems that I didn't implement into it that I went, oh, I want to try and do this, but then I realized, oh, that doesn't like functionally like make it more appealing to the design. So I didn't want to use it was the problem, because I compared to what other people had, I pushed a lot of ideas where I went, oh, I want to try this, but then I went, oh, that didn't work. I now have to pull myself back and try something different to do it. So I would say roughly it was about 2 weeks of coding and 2 weeks of doing all the art.
Okay, cool. So like 50-50 basically.
It was 50-50, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's a good exercise to do something like this, like a project where you try and make the art yourself and also do the programming yourself, because it makes you realize just how long it takes to make art. Like, you know, like the programming kind of sticks everything together, but then you need one tree and you've got to go like make that tree. And then you're like, oh, now I need a bush. And now you got to go make the bush, right? Like the kind of way that the two domains scale is different. And I think that's like really important to realize, because as like games scale, like in complexity, you start to need artists for specific things. And that's sort of what I'm talking about, like becomes, oh, you need a VFX artist and you need a modeler and you need this and that. And it's just amazing how much of a specific skill creating art for video games is. And I have so much respect for people who are really good at it. I think it was cool that you decided to do it that way and learn both sides of the industry, because I think it's important to give you perspective for people on either side. Is there anything like any hook to your roguelike that you'd say is a bit different to other roguelikes, or were you more focused on learning the art skill?
I personally would say I was more focusing on learning the art skill, because I really wanted to show that off. Because I think for me, I really wanted to show off my creative skills that I want to like touch into. Because a lot of the time I've done a lot of the programming, but I also want to go, hey, I want to like be able to go, hey, I want to learn this and really show off that, hey, I made all this from the ground up and from scratch. And so right now I would say there isn't like a crazy creative hook, because there are definitely moments in it where I go, oh, I want to add like story elements more into it. Because definitely some of the ideas where I go, okay, later on into this project, I want to add more creative hooks that really entice people to go, hey, this is different than a lot of the roguelikes that I use for comparison. But yeah, so I would say that I want to focus more on just being like, here's a lot of these creative ideas that I wanted to show you, and just like really pursue and try for myself.
Yeah, cool. It's hard to build something from scratch. You should be proud that you've managed to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Thank you for the presentation, William. It's I tried my hand at being an artist once, and it was definitely not for me. So I commend you what you made. I think your little main character there is awesome. There's lots of potential there. I think that's really cool. I like in your presentation kind of what came through to me. Like, of course, you were trying out all these different things to see the different sides of development, but I like that. Even though you had a short amount of time and some things took longer, that you focused on the things that you found would be important for gameplay, like 3D objects that would guide players throughout the world, or VFX that help communicate your strength or whatever it is. I think that's really cool, and it shows that what's very important for gameplay. So yeah, good job on that. Even though it's a steep learning curve, I know.
Yeah, no, of course. It's definitely a steep learning curve into like what you can do with Blender. But like for me right now, it's like I'm just trying out some different things in it. There's definitely a lot of things that I want to now look onto and go, what is it that I can really like go into and go, these are all the things I really want to work on, and go like really fancify them, because there's definitely a lot that I really want to learn and use in Blender.
Awesome. So I guess I have one question for you then, because now that you've tried out all these things and you have, I guess, building blocks of what you can do with this game, and you talk about upgrading or continuing work on your skill tree. I guess what is the core mechanic for you that you want to really explore in this game? Like, what is the core at Ubisoft we tend to call it the toy, or the core experience that you want the player to interact with?
I think the core like interactive that I really want to build more onto is definitely the weapon system, like using a lot more visual effects to create different weapons, like for example different magic systems, to really show off like how it interacts with the different enemies, like maybe like a freeze bullet or like a poison like little like nova effect, like things that really like encapsulate the fantasy world and build it together into create like almost feel like its own little like world genre in like the roguelike kind of systems.
Okay, that's a that's a lofty goal there to make a genre, but I commend you for that. That's awesome to have a
Thank
goal.
you.
I would my advice to you would be just start small and
Yeah.
build up from that. Find that fun that we've been talking about today. Like find that first and then build up from that, and the rest will start falling in place a little bit easier.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd love to add to that because I find it very interesting. This, like, what you've been doing is really amazing, but it also it's sort of your project falls in between trying to make a workable game that looks nice and just trying to expand your own options, basically, which is sort of where I think it makes it slightly difficult for us to sort of really assess it, because you're sort of in the middle. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. Also, the fact that, like others have already said, getting to know more about VFX, getting to know more about 3D modeling, it is so important because it will help you converse with others within a team. Because if you know the restraints, if you know the time things take, if you know how you can use other elements to improve a game, that's hugely important. So it's great that you're doing that. At the same time, and this is like for the far future, so please don't like start changing your ideas based on this. But when the time comes that you want to, for instance, find an employer, it will be important for your future employer to know where your focus lies, because it's going to be great to employ somebody who has additional knowledge and skills, because that's extremely important. It's also important to know where the focus is. And I think you're trying to find that now. And I would say to you, like, please keep doing that, because you're succeeding in that. And yeah, I mean, looking at the fun 3D things that you're making and the ideas that you have of that, definitely continue to do that. But also keep in the back of your mind that eventually it will be a good idea to make a kind of a choice, like in which direction you want to go and what you want to profile towards others. Especially at the beginning of your career, it's really important to do that. So that would be my advice. But great work.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I definitely feel that as well, because right now it's definitely feeling more like I'm trying to like build up like a broad set of skills, and then depending on what the mentorship or the internship that leads into, like what the employer is looking for. If they go, hey, you know, we really like your 3D modeling, then that's a way for me to go, okay, then now I can really focus on my 3D modeling that they look at. Or like, hey, we really like the way that you implement the systems and stuff. And then that way I go, okay, now that's like a goal that I'm aiming for, because this person really is looking at like the systems that I want. But yeah, no, I definitely think like there's some like broad things that I could really scope down more onto. Like, I don't want to like split myself into too many things at once, rather than focus on one thing that a certain employer is looking at specifically.
Yeah, awesome. I'm going to echo what everyone else has said, just generally, because totally agree on all those stuff. As to what you just said, like just now, yeah, totally. But also, I definitely recommend, like, outside of seeing what employers see you as, like, oh, I love your modeling, or oh, I love your tech, also just know like what you enjoy. Because of course, as you're early on in your career, there's so many different roles in games that are vastly different from each other, vastly different between studios. And so an employer definitely wants to see what you enjoy and what you really have a good time pursuing. And I guess what I love coming from like someone that does tech art is seeing someone in programming really branching out to 3D art, because I'm sure you've learned so much just over this past 4 weeks about how that art works, right? Because there's so much that goes into it, both from an artistic standpoint and from a technological standpoint. Like, these things can be complex in how it's all set up. There's a lot of nitty gritty in how art gets shown through tech. And so kudos to you for really pushing yourself in that 4-week domain. You mentioned some really great next steps you would consider, like rigging and animation, which are both exceptionally useful to have if you pursue stuff in tech art, like with rigging and technical animation. I also would just love to see where you go forward in terms of like lighting and post-processing, because those sort of really also sit on this backbone of an understanding of tech and art. And I guess to wrap up my comments and feedback, I'm sort of interested on a personal level for you as to sort of what motivated you to use this style particularly for your 3D art.
I really appreciate that feedback. That's all amazing. I really wanted to do the style just because I want to go for the style because I really like the way that fantasy worlds are built up. They're not crazy realistic. They're all in this very tuned stylized setting that really it helps me show off more of the different visual effects in the way that's vibrant. It's really appealing to the eye. It uses really bright colors to really encapsulate a lot of the different effects and attacks that the player can do. And the different colors, for example, the different types of elements and magic and all that. So that definitely is kind of the style that I was going for, to really visually show off the colors on that.
Yeah, great choice.
Oh, you're still unmuted.
You're muted.
There you go. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your feedback. We just have one more pitch to go, and I'm super excited to show you guys the last one as well. So with that, if everyone could just leave the stage. Thank you so much. And Andrew, whenever you're ready. I think you're muted, Andrew.
I think I got it.
Yes, thank you.
All right. First off, I want to thank you all for coming and taking your time to view all of our games. If we can move to the next slide. My name is Andrew Stevens, as mentioned. My goal here is to learn more about the gaming industry and find a starting position or even a mentorship to further along my path along the industry. Next slide. I was born and raised in Canada and been a homebody for most of my life. So games have always been my stress relief when coming to things. I started off wanting to be a chef by creating things that people would enjoy, from different dishes and things. But as I learned more about the gaming industry and enjoyed the games I played, I wanted to focus on that. So that's where my passion changed from food to gaming. My game is called The Rising Slimes, and I had an amazing time creating it because I had thoughts of the game even before joining Circuit Stream. And I had a lot of inspirations from the multiple games that I have played. If we can go to the next slide, is turn-based games from Final Fantasy, roguelikes like Binding of Isaacs, and I am always been a fan of collecting things within games, from achievements, creatures, and things, planning out the games. And it just really hit me hard when it comes to these type of games. But let's just jump right into the demo for the next slide. Hello and welcome to the Rising Slimes demo. Here I'll tell you all about my game, and we'll start off with the dungeons. Here in this dungeon, you'll be able to go room to room to explore the dungeon floor. You'll be able to pick up items as well as battle monsters to gain loot and experience for your slimes. You'll be able to find treasure rooms filled with excess loot, as well as eggs within the dungeon. Each floor will have its dungeon boss, where you can defeat it. It'll be more powerful than the other beasts you've encountered on the floor. But the moment you defeat it, you'll get a new item as well as be able to advance to the next floor. Here at the alchemy shop, you'll be able to craft yourself potions to heal your allies, as well as some elixirs to aid them in battle. So gather up your supplies so you can battle the dungeons. Here at the hatchery, you'll be able to hatch your eggs that you have found within the dungeon, as well as the elemental shards and cores you'll find throughout the battles from battling monsters and the bosses. You'll be able to hatch various slimes to help yourself in battle. Once the eggs are hatched, you can add them to your party or even send them to the ranch. Here at the ranch, you'll be able to deposit as well as withdraw any slimes that you have stored away, even the ones that you hatch from the hatchery. So you can be able to build your team according to which dungeons you enter, as well as the monsters you fight. Thank you for watching my Rising Slimes demo. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have a great day. There's more to come within my game. So just wait and watch my slimes rise to the top. I had a few challenges when it came to making my game. Mainly from dungeon generation, making sure the players spawned in the right spots, as well as the inventory from making sure that you're able to split the stacks. You can put it into the proper slots when crafting. But the main problem I had was the time and scope of my game. I kind of went a little overboard on trying to get everything done within the time frame I had. But I think I did okay. For future goals, I do plan to add a lot bit more lore, more dungeon variants, traps, and more monsters to add, especially more creatures you can add to your party. As for gameplay, a lot of it does core on to the time-based combat and the random generation. So I hope to enhance my skills on that in the future. We can go to the next slide, please. I want to thank you for taking your time to view my game. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did in making it. Here's my contact info, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Andrew. It was such a lovely game. It seems like the type of game you would play after a long day at work just to de-stress a little bit. So amazing game. Thank you so much. With that, could I please have the guest speakers join us just one last time and give Andrew feedback on his game?
Yeah, I love that you have really clear inspirations for it, and really I love it sort of that dictates sort of the pillars of your game. I feel like I see it and I understand a decent chunk of the appeal of where it comes from. And with that, with you sort of drawing from very different inspiration points that are like quite different from each other, it brings the project, in my opinion, like to a really interesting, distinct place. Like with that Minecraft-esque crafting, but also with like a Pokemon, almost Chow Garden-esque party management on top of that already sort of dungeon delving-esque experience, like at the core, sets up a really interesting relationship between all these systems, and I'm curious as to how it plays out. So I guess in terms of questions, I'm just sort of curious as to how you think those systems do interact and how they do bounce off of each other and improve the overall experience.
Yes, for that sort of side, like for your team, you always have to adjust your teams when battling different types of monsters. That's why I thought of the collections because, as I said, I like collecting things. Pokemon is actually one of my top favorite games. I love the team building aspects because you always have to change it up when facing different opponents. That what one inspired in things, and then with roguelikes, you never know what you're going to face in each time you enter a dungeon, especially when it's all random, different monsters, different things. You can't just go through the dungeon with one set of team and expect to beat everything.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Can I just add that I love the very personal aspect that you brought. I really like the demo video in which you explained yourself how things would work. And that combined with your background and explaining how what games do to you and how you want to give that to other people. I think that shone through very well within the game, and it gave me a very cozy feeling that I hope that you will continue to build on, because I think that's maybe one of the unique selling points of what you're making is that you're really trying to evoke that feeling within your game and give that to others. So I really appreciate that, and I hope that that's something that you will continue to build on.
Yes, that was one of my goals because, as I mentioned, games have been my stress relief to escape the stresses of being out in the world, making sure life goes on. So I wanted to express that feeling, like you can come to the game and actually enjoy it, not try to spend much time on it, just like stress about what the game can do for you. You should be able to play however you like and enjoy the gameplay the way you want to.
Yeah, and I think that definitely is one of the unique selling points. Also, the examples that you brought of other games that you want to incorporate, yes, they are very different. But if you use the inspiration from that games to evoke exactly that what you're describing now, I think this could be very interesting. Very elaborate as well. It's not going to be easy to build all this. It's ambitious.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, also just thought I'd add on that. Thank you so much for the presentation, Andrew. It's clear that this is a passion project. Like I love it. Like your passion shines through in the work that's there. Your inspirations are very clear, but I feel like the way you've taken the elements that meant something for you and put it into a new experience makes sense. It's fresh. It's really cool. I'm happy about the slimes. It's very cool. And I also like what you just said about letting players play the way they want to play. That's for me, that's very important when making games. It's making those kind of experience where players can express themselves. And I think what you have here has potential to do that. It is indeed not going to be easy. There's a lot of systems in there, but I can clearly see what the core experience is, and I think it will be really fun to see what happens to this game. I'm going to keep my eyes out.
Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, cool. Great comments from everyone else. I wanted to everyone keeps saying systems, right? Systems. And we were talking before about defining our focus in our careers in game industry. And I would say that above all else, I'm a systems programmer. I am bad at every other aspect of game development other than that. And I can see from this game that there are a lot of systems that are interacting with one another. Like I took some notes and I saw you had crafting, you had a hatchery, you had a ranch, you had all these different things going on. I wanted to ask you, how did you approach adding these features and adding these systems to your game? Did you plan it all out to begin with? Did you kind of add systems as you went along based on what you enjoyed? What was your methodology for deciding what systems to put into the game?
Well, the last system was the hatchery. Another issue was trying to get more allies for your teams to change. That's why I thought eggs, because like Pokemon, you go out in the wild, you throw a ball and you catch them. I didn't want this concepts like Pokemon and Pal World. That's why I thought of a different system of eggs. But normally, once you have an egg, it's predetermined of what comes out of it. That's why I thought added little crafting elements like adding elemental shards or cores to basically like a campfire, like in eggs, you got to keep it warm. But with the hatchery, you keep it warm, but with different variants items. So the magic of the items enhance the eggs to create these new slimes that you can create. As for the crafting system, it wasn't really intended to copy Minecraft or in the system. It was just as I was trying to create the system, it turned out that it was the best style that I was trying for. So that's where my inventory went towards.
Yeah, very cool. And so do you think you can add more and more systems, kind of keep building systems into the game to create more sort of emergent gameplay, for example, where as those systems start to interact in ways you don't expect?
Oh yes, yes. I have a few other plans because it's on the back burner, but I was thinking like an evolutionary system with the slimes. So basically, once it like Pokemon, but in a different style, and either that or a like oh, what's that word that people usually once they get to a top level they progress back to the things and go back through.
Going for replayability?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. I can tell you're very passionate, Andrew. I think you should be very proud of what you've created. Well done.
Thank you.
Mute again.
Freaking heck, I will never get good at this. This is why I'm not in the software development bootcamp that we offer. Thank you everyone so much for all your feedback. With that, I'm just gonna do some wrap up, and thank you guest speakers for your feedback today. I'll kick you out, don't worry. Perfect, there we go. Congratulations to all of our graduates today, the game development graduates. I'm so incredibly proud of you guys for sharing your projects. I know it's not easy to go out there and share something you've been working on closely for a long amount of time. So congratulations to everyone that was a part of our pitch day today. Thank you to all of our amazing guest speakers for joining us today. The technical insights that you guys provided have been so valuable to our students as they start out on their careers. And for those of you that are in the attendance today that are not partners with us yet, we have several opportunities to partner with us. So that could be from things like events like the pitch days here or the AMAs that we host, to hiring our top talent. I would absolutely love to connect with everyone after, so please send me any questions you may have. Again, my email is up on the slides. With that, thank you so much to everyone that joined us today, and thank you to all of our graduates, and congratulations. Bye.